Stock markets tumble on tariff fears as gold hits another record. From gold to oil to cobalt, Africa holds trillions beneath its soil. But instead of lifting nations, these riches are fueling conflict. And we explore how the Indian Premier League is knocking out billion-dollar records in cricket. Hello, I'm Taiba Aydin with the latest business and finance news here on TRT World. Asian stocks fell on Friday with heavy selling in South Korea and Japan, while safe haven gold hit a record high as the latest tariffs from US President Donald Trump stoke investor worries of an all-out trade war. Japanese stocks led losses with markets sinking 2%. South Korea's Kospi traded 1.9% lower and the small-cap Kosdaq dipped around 1.95%, while Hong Kong's Hang Seng Index slid around 0.6% and mainland China's CSI 300 dipped 0.4%. Meanwhile, gold surged to a new record high of more than $3,080 an ounce amid escalating trade tensions ahead of additional US tariffs next week. US President Donald Trump announced 25% tariffs on foreign-made cars and auto parts this week, prompting retaliation threats from the European Union and Canada and fueling fears of a broader trade dispute and global economic fallout. Now let's get more on this with Tim Waterer in Sydney. He's Chief Market Analyst at KCM Trade. Now, Tim, we're seeing quite the heavy sell-off in Asia. Which sectors have been hit the most?
Nice to be with you. Yeah, certainly a downer for the markets to end the week. Heavy selling, as you say, and it's really been the big name automakers across Asia that have been hit the hardest. So we're talking the likes of Toyota, Mazda, Honda, in Japan, and also Hyundai in South Korea. And it really is, in reaction to that 25% tariff level that is due to come into effect next week on April 2. So I think investors are really looking at the situation and looking at where these cars are currently made. In the case of someone like Toyota, only about half their cars are currently, made in the US and would be exempt from that 25% tariff. So it leaves the other half really looking at price increases in response to those tariffs. So, and the other question traders are asking, I guess, is what is going to be the profit hit that these companies are going to take for the cars manufactured outside of the US when they get imported into the US? And those estimates vary, but ballpark we could be looking at between say 5 to 10% hits in terms of the bottom line profit as a result of these tariff measures. So that's why traders have been, I guess, reducing them off their portfolios today and looking for some safer options. While we wait and see how long these tariffs are due to last for.
Right, and with these looming tariffs, how are investors bracing for this escalating trade war between the world's top economies?
Yeah, so traders are taking a tread carefully approach this week. So we're seeing a reshuffling of portfolios. So taking risk away from assets which are exposed to the trade wars and companies and sectors whose profit could be taking a hit. So hence that to move away from automakers and a move in towards other sectors which could be more insulated from such moves. So typically there we're talking about things such as the utilities sector, a typical defensive play there. So that's doing relatively well. And of course we're looking at other car manufacturers who could be, I guess, beneficiaries of the 25% tariff level. So no surprise that we have seen Tesla, which makes all its cars in the USA, that are sold in the USA, that's gone up 16% this week. So winners and losers, like with everything. But yeah, definitely a repositioning and taking risk off the table ahead of these the big tariff announcements due next week.
Right, and as investors dump these risk assets, they're flocking to safe haven assets like gold, which keeps moving higher by the day. We have a new record high just this morning. So how much further does it have to gain?
That's right. So gold racking up a new all-time high today, as we speak, sort of just around that $3,080 level for the spot price. So gold ticking a lot of boxes for investors as, one, an uncertainty hedge given the trade wars, and also two, as an inflation hedge in case these tariffs do lead to higher prices down the track. So that's seeing gold, I guess, moving to a favoured asset for a lot of investors at the moment. So in terms of where could it move to, I think if we look sort of for the 2025, 3,300 shapes is a viable option. If it gets there, gold will be just repeating its gains from last year. So I think that's certainly on the radar. The risk to that would be if we did see a de-escalation in the trade wars or a rebound in the US dollar. That could halt the momentum of gold somewhat. But right now, while there's a lot of angst in the markets about growth and inflation, I think gold will continue to be high on the wish list for a lot of investors. And of course, central banks still very keen on buying the precious metal also. So yeah, definitely a good day for gold and still a bullish outlook for the foreseeable future, you would have to say.
Right, Tim Waterer, thank you very much for your analysis.
Thank you.
Now, we often hear about Africa's incredible natural wealth, gold, oil, cobalt, and much more. But beneath that glittering surface is a much deeper story. In 4 of the continent's most resource-rich nations, those treasures have become flashpoints for conflict, corruption, and collapse. So let's dig into the numbers behind the chaos and see how fortunes buried in the ground are fueling fire above it. The Democratic Republic of the Congo is sitting on mineral reserves worth a jaw-dropping $24 trillion. That includes 6 million tons of cobalt. That's over 50% of the world's supply, along with gold, copper and coltan. Yet more than 120 armed groups are fighting over this wealth, with conflict displacing hundreds of thousands and fueling what's now one of the world's worst humanitarian disasters. Nigeria, on the other hand, holds 37 billion barrels of oil and 209 trillion cubic feet of gas, worth trillions at market prices. But in 2022 alone, the country lost an estimated $23 billion due to oil theft. From militants in the Niger Delta to bandits in Zamfara's gold mines, Nigeria's vast resources are being siphoned off by groups funding violence, crime and instability. Libya's 48 billion barrels of crude and 1.5 trillion cubic meters of gas could be an economic engine. But between 2020 and 2023, blockades and militia infighting slashed oil output from 1.2 million barrels a day to just 90,000, costing $9 billion in 2020 alone. Rather than uniting the country, oil has become a bargaining chip in power struggles between rival factions. And Sudan produced over 42 tons of gold in 2022, worth at least $2.5 billion. But most of it was smuggled out to fund conflict. Since 2023, Sudan has been gripped by a devastating civil war where both the army and the RSF rely on gold sales to finance operations. Instead of powering the economy, this precious metal is now bankrolling death and division. Let's get more on this now with Jonathan Ofei-Ansah, founder of Africa Briefing magazine. Good to have you with us, Jonathan. Now, why does so much resource wealth lead to such conflict?
Well, resource wealth actually often leads to power struggles, especially with in countries with weak institutions. And then when resources like oil, gold, diamonds, or critical minerals are discovered, they suddenly raise the stakes of who controls the state. And this often leads to rent-seeking behavior where elites or armed groups try to control the resource revenues rather than build productive economies. And we also have corruption and mismanagement where resource wealth can weaken accountability if governments depend on extracted revenues instead of taxes. And again, we have marginalization and grievances. When communities feel excluded for the benefits of these resources, it can spark rebellion or unrest. We see it in places like the Niger Delta in Nigeria and also in Eastern DRC, where war is raging. So in these places, natural wealth doesn't usually guarantee peace. It can actually intensify competition and violence.
And do you think African countries can break this cycle?
Yes, it can. I mean, it takes strong governance, long-term planning, and citizen oversight to achieve this. I mean, look, let's take Botswana. Botswana is one of the world's leading diamond producers, and certainly Africa's leading diamond exporter. And we also take Ghana. Ghana is the leading gold exporter in Africa. I mean, these are two examples of governments, trying to manage their natural resources prudently by setting up wealth funds, you see, and also save and also invest in their revenues wisely. And again, we have legal reforms, where community rights can ensure that the locals benefit, not just the multinationals and the elites, who exploit the minerals.
And what about foreign powers? What role do they play in fueling these crises?
Yeah, and foreign powers, are often, actors are often deeply complicit and sometimes central, in these problems. Some more often than not, multinational corporations, strike opaque deals, that underpay the host countries or damage the environment. So again, if the host government is, the host countries are underpaid, that means they don't get enough revenue, right, for social infrastructure, economic infrastructure, create jobs, and so on and so forth. And again, we have the damage to the environment. I mean, again, I use the Niger Delta as an example, where the people there have been involved in long-standing legal dispute with Shell, for polluting their river bodies, polluting the environment and everything. So multinational corporations, are often very, very deeply complicit, in these problems. And again, we have geopolitical players like China, the US, Russia, the Gulf states, who often back regimes or rebel groups to secure resource assets.
Right, and we will have to leave it there. Jonathan Ofei-Ansah in London, thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
Now a quick look at some of the other top business stories from around the world. Argentina has asked the IMF for a $20 billion loan to help stabilize its currency and rebuild central bank reserves. The government says the money won't be used for spending, but to strengthen the central bank and support the peso. The request comes as reserves fall and fears of devaluation grow. Mexico's central bank has cut its benchmark interest rate to 9%, citing global trade tensions and weakening growth. It's the second rate cut in a row as the economy struggles under pressure from US tariffs. The bank also warned of more risks ahead and signaled that further cuts may follow. Nvidia-backed cloud computing firm CoreWeave has raised $1.5 billion in its stock market debut, pricing shares at $40 each, below its earlier target. The company also sold fewer shares than planned. The IPO is seen as a test of investor confidence in AI infrastructure. Now, elite domestic cricket franchises are clashing for the 18th edition of the popular Indian Premier League. Funded by the Board of Cricket Control in India, the limited overs format IPL tournament started in 2008. Today, it has grown into a nearly $13 billion sporting industry. Smita Sharma reports on the impact of the brand.
These cricket enthusiasts are fighting it out for their favourite Indian Premier League teams. But on a rooftop pitch, a new venture hopeful of profiting from the IPL fever. Its owner, popular as the fan with tricolour beard, has cheered Team India in over 100 matches at home and overseas. The soaring popularity of IPL has opened up business opportunities for tens of thousands like him.
I just opened this Khelo Noida in Noida, so because I am very passionate about the cricket, so I think the cricket is releasing for India. It's IPL season, so lots of the people are coming to play cricket. It's helping me for my business.
The IPL cumulative brand value surged to $12 billion in 2024, a 13% increase over the past year. Former Team India manager Amrit Mathur is among the key architects that shaped up the idea of players' auction and limited overs cricketing format. IPL is now a global powerhouse in sports entertainment.
Everybody had a view that it will succeed, but nobody expected it to be a success of this size. It's unlocked a formula for the growth of cricket. Everybody else is copying this formula of privately owned franchise team across the world, and that's the way forward for cricket all over the world.
Auction cricketers with elite IPL franchisee now draw hundreds of times more salaries than before. Sold at $3.2 million for this season, Rishabh Pant became the most expensive player in the history of IPL. With over 74 matches currently against 60 initially, the league has raked in money for broadcasters, sponsors and team owners.
In the 250 years of the grand old game of cricket, nothing has rocked it quite to the core like the IPL. Some go so far as to say that it's not even cricket because IPL has caused the game to lose its honesty and morals, seducing players with money and glamour. Even worse, the 20-over game is now threatening the purest, long-form test match cricket, which is now facing an uncertain future. How's that? Smita Sharma, TRT World, Hyderabad, India.
Joining us now from New Delhi is Vimal Kumar. Now, Vimal, how has the IPL changed cricket?
I think massively. If you look at the impact of IPL on cricket generally, forget about Indian cricket, it has been massive. I will just give you one small example. 2008, when IPL was starting in Bangalore, I was one of the few journalists who flew from Delhi to Bangalore to cover that match. There were two British journalists. I remember one name, independent reporter Stephen Brankley. And they just were, laughing what this tamasha is going on. This will corrupt cricket. This will kill cricket, purist, and all those kind of thing. I was just a rookie reporter, and I told them it might just change the cricket completely. Who knows? And I don't want to boast, but in hindsight, when I see, even I did not realize the way it has changed the game. Look at the main complaint against IPL has been, it will corrupt the purest format of the game, which is Test cricket. Ironically, Test cricket has unleashed the IPL has unleashed the Test cricket, because if you look the standard of fielding, standard of batting, the ruthlessness of the captains, everything, it has all come from IPL. And many of the former critics, whether they were coming from England, Australia, South Africa, New Zealand, they all have embraced the inevitability of IPL, the greater impact it has created. And it's not a hidden secret. You look at the world, everyone is copying the IPL model. The whole world, you go to South Africa, you go to England, even the 100 League, they all are the Indian owners buying the franchise. It's all the models are influenced by IPL. So you can just simply, it's no brainer actually.
And do you think Test cricket can survive this entertainment first era?
I think yes. If you look at cricket in a way, it's a special sport. So if you look at Test cricket and IPL or T20, they are two different. Even if it is the same game, cricket, but the format makes it a completely different sport. I think because the Test cricket has a tradition history, in just few years' time, they will be completing 150 years of Test cricket. And I think a lot of people who have come to IPL or T20, they have also embraced Test cricket. Its richness, its tradition. So I think the relationship has been symbolic. If the both format helping each other. So earlier maybe you could argue that it could threaten, or there was some sort of competition. I think now Test cricket and IPL or T20 cricket are there to help each other.
And cricket has been a source of national pride for Indians. Are players now prioritising earnings over this?
This has been debated a long time in India, but just to give you the truth, because I have been traveling with this Indian team for so many years, I am yet to meet an Indian player who values IPL contract more than India cap, because they know no matter how good you are in IPL or how much money you make, at the end of the day, your brand or your stature as a cricketer only comes from playing for India. Look at the most iconic players, whether it's MS Dhoni, whether it's Virat Kohli, whether it's Rohit Sharma, whether it's Jasprit Bumrah. They all have become icon or bigger brand because of what they have done for India. Whether they have won the World Cup, Champions Trophy or something like that. Yes, IPL does help. It does enhance your brand, your popularity, but this is just as a supplementary product, not the main product. So it's still for the Indian cricketers, at least till now, yes, so for some fringe players, those who know that we are not good enough to play for India, maybe they might be prioritizing IPL, saying that, okay, this is a great career option. We are making good money. We might not be good enough for India. For those players, fine, I can take that argument. But those who are exceptionally good, gifted, and they really want to make their name on world stage, I think they will always prioritize international cricket.
So a major win for Indian cricket. Vimal Kumar, thank you very much for being with us.
Thank you so much. My pleasure.
Now, as the BOA Forum for Asia convenes under the theme Asia in the Changing World Towards a Shared Future, discussions on de-dollarization have never been more prominent. With growing global uncertainty over the US's trade and foreign policy, countries, including China, are accelerating efforts to find a viable alternative to the dollar. Jamie Santiriso reports.
This building in Hong Kong houses Tai Fung Shipping Limited, except at its registered address you won't find the company. Tai Fung, incorporated in 2023, was sanctioned by the US in October last year over the shipment of Iranian crude oil on behalf of Iran's Revolutionary Guard.
The US is really the only jurisdiction that has that type of extraterritorial reach.
The number of Chinese and Hong Kong-based companies that have been sanctioned by Washington in recent years has skyrocketed. Under the Biden administration, around 400 were added to the so-called entities list. Saskia Riedbrook is executive director of the Association of Certified Sanctions Specialists and says the US dollar's status as the world's international reserve currency gives America unrivaled unilateral sanction power.
The fact that a lot of the payments in trade internationally are made in US dollars gives the US jurisdiction over any transaction that is paid in US dollars.
But the increased use of sanctions is leading many countries to accuse the US of weaponizing its currency. China, along with fellow BRICS nations, is at the forefront of calls for change.
The objective is not to replace the American dollars. Just to have healthy competition and to remove this monopoly status away and to have a competition and have alternative.
In a separate effort to counter foreign sanctions, China this week said it would step up the implementation of legislation targeting what's been described as discriminatory measures against Chinese citizens or entities.
But the dollar's strength, accounting for 90% of global foreign transactions, means any effects of such efforts might be limited. In January, US President Donald Trump also threatened BRICS members with 100% tariffs and exclusion from US markets if the bloc pushes for de-dollarization. Experts warn such threats may accelerate a shift.
The move towards strengthening those options will become more profound in case United States goes ahead with imposition of tariffs or any such measures which unequivocally damage the economic interest of the people who use the currency, then there will be more action towards de-dollarization.
But as concern over the dollar's use as a foreign policy tool grows, China could play a key role in efforts to end its dominance. Jamie Santirso, TRT World, Beijing.
On Sunday, the UK will celebrate Mother's Day and the women who shape our lives with love, strength and endless patience. But for businesses, Mother's Day is more than just a heartfelt occasion. It's a key moment to connect with customers worth billions of dollars. Tulay Kalyon Hasnederolo has more from London.
The British date for Mother's Day is different from anywhere else in the world. In the UK, Mother's Day, also known as Modern Sunday, is celebrated 3 weeks before Easter. Both local businesses and major brands are making the most of this special occasion and retail opportunity. Consumer spending for Mother's Day 2025 is expected to reach $3 billion, a 5% increase from 2024. Consumers plan to spend an average of $155 on gifts for their mums, an increase of $22 from last year. Shoppers intend to spend an average of $65 on food and drink for the occasion, with supermarkets upselling luxury items such as premium meats and drinks.
I'm personally not sort of a big spender on Mother's Day, and more kind of I think like a thoughtful phone call or like a card or something I think is probably more meaningful to my mum at this point. I think maybe when you're younger that kind of breakfast in bed is quite nice, but I think at this point, nice phone call.
Oh, I love Mother's Day. I'm probably going to buy my mother some flowers, some nice chocolate. I would spend around probably 70 pounds, I would say, because she would be mad if I spent too much on her, because I'm still young. Treat your mother well, though. That's what I would say.
Not much at all. I normally just get a card from my mum. Cards and make lunch for her.
But what if motherhood were an actual job? On average, mums prepare 780 meals, do 728 loads of laundry, and help with 468 homework assignments per year. Mums take on an average of 13 different roles for their children, acting as everything from a driver to a motivational speaker, from a chef to a personal assistant. And if these roles were paid as a professional occupation, a mother's salary would amount to $230,000 a year, adding up to $4.1 million by the time their children turn 18. Research also shows that 9 in 10 mothers report feeling the mental and physical toll of caregiving, often referred to as motherload. Being a mom is one of the toughest jobs in the world, with 64% saying they find it more stressful than having a full-time job. Yet 82% of moms say they wouldn't change it for the world. But this study isn't just about numbers. It's about celebrating mothers and caregivers all around the globe. Tülay Kalyon, Haznedaroğlu, TRT World, London.
Well, that's all your business news for now. Thanks for watching.